A couple in Cleveland had been living in their home for a few years when they decided to take on the big project of renovating the house. They decided to start with the basement, a room they had all but ignored since moving in. After the basement, they would work their way up by remodeling the first and second floors. When they found strange writing and drawings on the walls in the basement, they were a bit nervous about what they would find as they worked on the rest of their house. But what they found, they never could have prepared themselves for. As basement renovations began, the owners were creeped out when they found strange inscriptions on the cinder block walls behind the drywall. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video with your friends. This, they would later find, was just the beginning of the secrets they would find in their home. The Cleveland couple kept working hard, knowing that a finished basement would add a whole new element to their home. Home renovations are no joke, and things got a little difficult when they began removing the ceiling, but they were motivated to keep going. When he began to pull down the drywall on the ceiling, he came across a green and gray tin box nestled in the ceiling above. Covered in dust after years of being forgotten, the man was intrigued. Why would a small suitcase have been placed in the ceiling? Reaching up into the ceiling, he grabbed the dusty old box, all the while fantasizing about its contents. He was surprised at its heavy weight when he picked it up and immediately called his wife, telling her to hurry home. He didn't want her to miss out. The couple gathered around the box so they could open it together. They each gave their best guess as to what they thought would be inside. Cash, recipes, baseball cards. They tried not to get their hopes up, though, and yet when they opened it up, they couldn't believe their eyes. The first thing they uncovered was an old newspaper, a copy of the Cleveland Plain Dealer dated back to March 25, 1951. Over 65 years had passed since the box had been stashed away. So why had this case been hidden? Digging around inside the case some more, they began to find much more exciting things. They pulled out 3 brown paper packages and saw a hint of American green showing through. They could barely contain their excitement. When they opened the first package, they found stacks of $20 bills. They were in shock. They still had 2 brown packages left. What else might they find? Inside the second package, there weren't any 20s. Instead, they found a mountain of 50s, and when they moved on to the final package, it contained a stack of $100 bills. But that wasn't all. The cash total in the packages amounted to $23,000. Not only was that a large chunk of change, but these bills dated back to 1928 to 1943, making many of them very rare. This would have been plenty for the couple, but there was more in the case. After celebrating their findings and looking into ensuring these treasures, they were ready to get back to normal life. When they got back to work, the surprises weren't over. The husband was in shock when he started back on the ceiling repairs and came across a second suitcase. How could this be? He was shocked and again decided to wait for his wife to arrive home from work before he opened it. He could hardly contain his excitement. While he assumed that it wouldn't be as fruitful as the first, how could it be? He was certainly just as curious. This case did weigh far more than the first. The possibilities were endless. When his wife arrived home and saw the second case on the counter, she nearly fainted. They quickly opened it up, not knowing what to expect. The second case was packed full of wads of cash. When they added it all up, the total was staggering. The total of their findings totaled $45,000. The couple came out with a statement saying, "This was a wild ride for us, and I hope you all enjoyed it too. We are boring people and have been dumping our extra money to pay off our mortgage, and that is where this money will go too." After the excitement died down, they got back to work. Once the suitcase madness had subsided, the couple returned to work on their home renovations. When they finished the basement and the first floor, they then moved up to start work on the second floor. When they'd moved in, they discovered a small door that they had always wondered about but never explored, believing it was just storage for the water heater. When they finally explored the inside, things took a turn. What they believed to be simply a storage room revealed a hidden secret room. They couldn't believe their eyes. This room was much larger than they had ever imagined. Scrap pieces of carpeting were fashioned into a path leading to yet another surprise. Feeling a bit creeped out, he asked his wife to wait while he entered the room. When he walked through the large space, he came across a second door. This was odd. There were so many secret doors and so much hidden space in his home. Why was this built? What were the previous owners hiding? He came upon the door and realized it was shut with a master lock and tightly secured with a bolt. He was determined to find out what was behind it. After all, this was his home, and anything inside of it now belonged to him and his wife. He ran back downstairs to gather some tools to attempt to get this thing open. When he finally got inside, things felt weird. First off, the room was soundproofed. Why would an attic in a house need to be soundproofed? The walls, floor, and ceiling were covered in soundproofing board along with a plastic tarp. What was going on up there? The room wasn't empty either. There was a brown leather briefcase lying on the floor. He was a little wary of opening it. This room creeped him out enough, so he didn't know what to expect with the briefcase. But he was also increasingly curious, so he grabbed it and opened it up. When he opened it up, he found a lot of valuables inside. Someone had placed an old wood box, envelopes full of money from other countries, jewelry, watches, rings, and 4 silver ingots. Why were they hiding these things in this soundproofed room? This made no sense. The briefcase wasn't the only thing in the room, though. He looked up from the briefcase and saw a huge black safe on the wall. His stomach dropped, and he had a bad feeling about what he might find inside. He opened the fireproof safe, and the first thing he saw was a handwritten note in black dribbling ink. The note sent chills up his spine, and it read, "Save yourself." From what? The note was bad enough, but he tried to convince himself that it was all just a hoax. Looking further into the safe, hands trembling, he uncovered 6 videotapes labeled, "What was on these hidden tapes?" He couldn't take anymore. It was all too strange. There was a little voice in his head that wouldn't stop bothering him. A few days passed before he watched the tapes, horrified, discovering a dark truth about the previous owners of their home.